Hey everyone, it's Rob back with an update on my 2 week challenge, which is now in week 6. So let's talk about the things that have been going on now for the last 6 weeks. These are the things that I identified in the first 2 weeks, and since then I've started with what I call the sustainability plan. And the 5 and 2 sustainability is where, basically I adhere to the no carb, no sugar weekdays, and from Friday evening till Sunday at lunch, don't really worry too much about it. Just kind of eat it, quote, a normal diet. All of these characteristics remain true. I will say I've noticed a little bit of decrease in my alertness at work. That has more to do with I'm feeling alert. I think maybe feeling a little less motivated with the stuff that I'm doing the last week or two. But the good news is, when I get tired at the end of the day, it's because my brain is, or even in the middle of the day, it's because I'll be on a 3 or 4 or 5 hour run of concentrating on what I'm doing, and I'm alert during that time frame, but then at the end, of course, you're a little bit burnt out. So this has been the most important thing to me in terms of side benefits that I wasn't necessarily expecting, as I've mentioned in the past. The decreased hunger continues. There are as I introduce the carbs, I notice that there's occasionally the hunger comes back, but it's manageable. And what I found is just a small glass of milk is enough to trick my stomach into thinking it has something to do. I don't know what it is about milk, but it hydrates you, and there's just enough nutrition in it to make your body feel like it's got something. So think about, you might be able to find something along those lines that works for you, that it's not a lot of calories, it's not a lot of it's not going to affect your weight loss if that's what you're concerned about, but it will help control the hunger pangs. So those things have changed, or just very slight differences as I introduce the some of the carbohydrates. This week was actually not really a true 5 and 2. The Memorial Day, I don't remember what we had to eat. One of our meals, we had some carbs in, one we didn't, right? So that was on Monday. And I think on Thursday, for whatever reason, we had corn on the cob, which is, starchy carbohydrate kind of vegetable instead of greens, things like that. And then Friday and Saturday, I had a little more carbs than I have in previous week. I even broke down and had some Reese's Cups for a little treat yesterday, and they were wonderful. And, so this was a little bit of probably more like about a 4 and 3 week, to be honest. I did lose some weight. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close my ugly mug here. And let's go ahead and look, for those of you haven't or forgotten the place to go, this Maffetone.com has the 2 week test, it has recipes, has a lot of useful information. So this is kind of the basis of what I'm doing. I'm not doing exactly their program. I actually didn't even find a quote program on here. It's just you can research for yourself and see what all it's got. But this was the underlying information that was in the book Natural Born Heroes by Chris McDougall that kind of got me started. Now, along the line, we've been continuing. Remember, I stopped taking my vitals after sort of proving that everything was good to go. So this is the week right here that we just added in. Coming in. So when we look from a Sunday to Sunday, 195 to 193.6, so that's a 4-point 1.4 pound drop. And for those who've been following along, I saw pretty good weight loss in that first 2 weeks when I was pure dedicated to the to the Maffetone ingestion cycle, if you will. And then since then, starting about day 15 and every weekend since then, I've used this 5 and 2 because I don't think as it wasn't a hard diet to maintain, but it was sort of an abnormal diet to maintain. And we live in an environment where there's so many carbs and so much sugar that it's hard at times to, like, for example, that first weekend or the second weekend, day 14, I was out doing some volunteer work with my company to rehab the local community center, right? And they brought in food, and it was Chick-fil-A, and it had battered chicken breasts and bun, which I didn't eat the bun. I scraped off some of the batter, and then the other thing was, I guess it was the first weekend, because there was a chocolate chip cookie which I saved until the second weekend. So on day 15, I had my Chick-fil-A chocolate chip cookie, which was wonderful. Okay, so I now have had 3 really good. The cookie, last week I had some sort of pastry during the middle of the week. It was absolutely heavenly. And then I had some Reese's Cups this weekend, as treats along the way. And as you can see here, the slope was steeper in these first 2 weeks when I was really, trying to adhere in a very close manner. Even then, I didn't get it entirely right. I used milk, and wasn't supposed to use milk. I thought milk was on the okay list, and it wasn't. But you could see I lost about 10 pounds in that first 15 days or so. Now, since then, give or take. So since then, it's been over weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 4 weeks since then. There's been a more gradual downward trend, but it continues. About last week, Sunday of last week, I hit my first benchmark, my baseline weight, where that's the weight that I had maintained for 10, 15 years prior to COVID. And I didn't get COVID, but just the whole being locked up, the whole sedentary lifestyle, all that sort of stuff, that's when my weight started to kind of get out of control for me, which was I had gotten up to 2008.8, probably a little higher at different points, but when I started this, I was at 208.8. So I hit my goal weight here. Then we saw this spike right here. This was due to dehydration. The day before, I had gone into the office, and I just know that I did not drink a whole lot of fluids compared to how much I drink when I work out of the house. And sure enough, I lost about 2 pounds in that cycle. And then the next day I was back up. And you see I've bounced around during that week and sort of come back down now. And so here is today's date. So this was right around in here, would have been last Sunday. So you see the first part of the week here with the holiday, I actually gained a little bit of weight. And then since the holiday, since Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, started coming back down. Yesterday we had a little bit of carbs and off-schedule carbs, if you will, bounced back up, and then today I'm sort of back down just a little bit. Okay, so the good news is now, when I hit 195, one of the things I did was add into my regimen was some weightlifting. Light, really light. And I have only done one cycle, but just as a point, I want to regain some muscle strength as well, not just cardio. And I started this trend right here, so that's going to be added in. Now, what are these blue lines? Well, you'll notice here that it says calories. It's like I was trying to figure out a way to, how do I convey that, okay, I've got a bike, I'm doing some biking, some running, some walking, and some swimming, and now some weightlifting. And, is there any correlation and people will probably want to know at some point, did I do anything above and beyond the diet? And I did. I started riding. We have a 6.5 mile course out here that when I do a zone 2 fat burning bike ride on it, it comes out to be right around 30 minutes. So you can think of each of these blue lines here that's right in this height right here. These are probably the bike rides. Okay, the ones that are about twice that size are bike rides, because sometimes my wife and I will go out and we'll do a zone 2, and then I'll do a slightly faster but still zone 2 ride for the second lap. So this guy right here and this guy right here are going to be bike rides, and this one right here, the ones that are down a little bit lower, like this one, probably this one, this was a swim. And so bottom line is, some of these are runs, some of these are bikes, and I haven't really sat down and I don't know if I can color code them or not. But I chose calories not because I have a great deal of faith in the way that Garmin calculates calories, but that it sort of represents a standardized way of quantifying the exercise done from bike to run to swim to whatever, to walking. A 30-minute walk is going to end up with something down here. This was a swim. I mean, it doesn't have your heart rate when you're swimming, so how does it know, how's it calculating it? It's basically just doing some type of time calculation times a quote benchmark burn rate, and giving you a calorie estimate for that swimming event. Okay. So with that said, there's one other swim in here. I didn't have my watch, so I didn't catch it, but it was pretty minimal. But for those who are interested, this gives you an idea of what I'm doing. The shorter lines represent basically 30 minutes of activity. The taller ones represent about an hour. And then here you can see I did a 3-lap event, so that was about a 3-hour event. About an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And all of these rides are predominantly done in zone 2. So for those of you who are new to this, maybe haven't done exercise, they take your maximum heart rate, which for me is 180 minus my age, and then that becomes your zone 2 target, your max heart rate. And then from there you go, I don't remember. No, that is zone 2. That's the top of your zone 2. So there's different ways to formulate zones, but basically some people say like 90% of heart rate is zone 5 and zone 4 and zone 3. Well, MAF's the zone that Phil Maffetone was supporting or recommending to get optimum conversion of your metabolism and optimum fat burn and all that is basically 180 minus 60. So in my case, we're just going to say that's approximately 125. It's a little lower than that, but it's a rough guess. So I set my watch up for zone 2s to be 125 and down to, I think, whatever 90 or something like that is my zone 2. And that's where your body is not going anaerobic. It's not burning as many carbs, and it's a slow enough pace that your body can actually have the time to reach in and grab your body fat. At least that's kind of the theory. So all of these activities are zone 2. Now what that means for you as a new, perhaps new to this, is you can have a nice conversation while you're riding your bike at this pace or running at this pace. I mean, this is not hard exertion, right? This is not painful. The most painful part about riding a bike at zone 2 is, the seat coming up between your legs, and you got to get used to that. And if you're riding with handlebars, your wrist may get a little bit tired from the vibration. So depending on how good your handlebars are and your hand grips and all that sort of stuff, I mean, those are your two, and I guess between your shoulder blades, right? Just anytime you're kind of crunched up a little bit, there's a little bit of tension between your shoulder blades. So we're talking about really minor kinds of discomfort that you can they get better as you do this more. That goes away. That tends to go away. But the pace that we're talking about here is really comfortable. You are not stressing to do this. This is not when I say I've added physical fitness, back into my life again here. We're not talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of physical fitness. We're talking about a pedaling along, watching the day go by, talking to your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, listening to the radio, preferably with open ear headsets so you can hear the cars. But the point is, this is not intense effort. This is slow fat burn effort. And you can see it's not every single day. I mean, here's multiple days in a row where either weather or I just didn't feel like it or work got in the way or whatever. And so it's not like I started this program and then did 15 days of working out on top of that, and then trying to distinguish what was the cause of my weight loss. The core cause of the weight loss is the reduction of the carbs and sugar intake. This is, helping. And oh, by the way, in the first 2 weeks, I did do one thing. I did try and always do my exercise on an empty stomach. Force your body to use body fat, right, and not feed it immediately prior to consuming it, and basically allowing your body to cheat and steal from your stomach. And you can see that that combined effort of the diet, no exceptions, so to speak, except milk, I guess. The sugar and carbs were cut out from here, the first couple of weeks here, and predominantly pre-meal exercises. This wouldn't be before breakfast. So it's not like I didn't have any food in the course of that day. But at the end of work, I'd have breakfast and late morning breakfast, eat some snacks in mid-afternoon. And then, around 5 o'clock or so in the evening, I would go out and do these 1-lap exercises or 2-lap exercises, 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, very low intensity exercise, when my stomach was empty and before dinner. And then I would come in, have dinner, and of course, maybe later just a small, very, very small snack. And what I try and do in the evening is use a little glass of milk to satisfy that hunger and not put in a whole lot of calories before I go to bed. So that's kind of the trend. Now since then, I've been doing a little bit more intense work, not much, still zone 2, right up against my heart rate for zone 2. I've done a couple of laps where I pushed hard in the second lap just because I felt like it. Things like that. So a little bit of variability, but I always try and do at least 1 or 2 laps of the zone 2 before I do any high intensity. So I'm pretty sure this one here, this third lap, when I say high intensity, I'm talking about going from zone 2 to the bottom of zone 3, right? Going into zone 3. No zone 4, no zone 5, right? No, it isn't high intensity. This is my point. Going from very, 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 very light intensity to moderate intensity. That would be a better way to describe it. Now, if you look at the chart, you can see here I did 3 days in a row, and I had a pretty good decrease here. So it probably does help. But I also lost weight here. This was due to dehydration, right? I didn't exercise on this day right here, but I did drop here. So there's not a direct correlation that I could really detect. Here I did some exercises, right? And I started climb back up a little bit. So probably was, eating a little bit too much or something. Who knows? So that's kind of the trend, and that's what these blue bars represent. Is I'm going to continue to track those just to give you an idea of the intensity of the work. How often, some people start a crash diet and they, do 15 days of diet and 15 days of exercise, and that's great and wonderful, but that's really hard to maintain. I mean, it's hard to do your physical training every single day. And, this is kind of proof of pudding that you don't really have to. As long as you're doing some dedicated activities. Now, most of these were, like I said, these were runs. I mean, really light jogs, let's call them, okay? These were runs, these were bikes. There's one swim in here, and I don't have my weight training in here either. And we're talking typically about 30 minutes of that low intensity. You can do a walk. You can, if you want to do a walk, you probably would want to walk for an hour or 45 minutes to sort of augment. And you're probably going to come in, instead of here, you're probably going to come in right here. 100 over on the right here. You can see the scale for calories. Typical rule of thumb is 100 calories per mile. So if you do 2.5 miles of walking, 3 miles of walking, you're going to put in some calories, equivalent to my little 30-minute bike ride. So it takes a little longer, but it's much easier. So with that said, that's kind of where we stand here at the end of the week. Once again, the trend continues. 1.4 pounds. I went from 195 a week ago to 193.6 today. I was, targeting sort of 1.5 to 2-ish, 1 to 2, whatever you want, somewhere in there on my 5 and 2 plan. I knew when I started reintroducing carbs here in the middle, after 15 days or so, I knew that this line was going to flatten out a little bit. And that was okay, because what I'm looking toward now is that 185. That's where I feel that's my ideal goal weight. I don't know if I'll get down that far or not, but I've lost since then. I've lost here's 198 pounds, 100 and something like that. Here's 200 pounds. So this is pretty close to the 2-week mark. So when I entered my 5 and 2, I weighed 200 pounds, and now I weigh 193.6. So that's, let's just say 194. So I've lost 6 pounds over 6 weeks, a little more than 6 pounds over 6 weeks. It's going. It is definitely, if you look at the trend, it's definitely down. Not fast. And then when I get down here to about 185, I'll probably just tweak my diet just a little bit. Maybe do a 4 and 3 or a 5.5 and 1.5, 2.5 and 4.5 kind of thing. Going to introduce in the middle of the week, a cheat day in the middle of the week, so that it doesn't feel quite so much like cheating, right? Wednesday night dinners, go out and, God forbid, have some dinner rolls at the steakhouse, right? And make this to where it really is sustainable. So everything is continuing on. This is true. The good news is here on the GI distress and the acid reflux, I'm now 6 weeks into this and have not had a single day of actual, acid in the throat kind of thing. I've had a couple days where sort of, didn't feel entirely good at the end of the day, and those were both carbo days. The GI distress is very, very minimal, and usually it has to do with if I have a carbonated drink or something like that. I've had a couple of Cokes along the way, a couple of carbonated, 0-calorie drinks. I don't drink the 0-calorie drinks because of calories. I drink them just because, I like the black cherry ice drinks, right? And they taste good, right? So every once in a while, I'll have one of those. It's not part of the the calorie counting mentality. It's just I like that particular drink, and so carbon dioxide, carbon bubbles is probably the cause of some of the GI distress, right? And so these are continuing. This is most notable on the carb days. Acid reflux is down. The weight decrease is continuing. About a pound and a half a week is my minimum. A pound and a half to 2 would be ideal. But I was at 1.4 this week. So that's week 6. It continues to be, in my opinion, this continues to be a diet that I can live with. So if you've been thinking about, trying this, you can do this. I'm pretty picky on food in terms of I don't like a lot of vegetables, and I'm not super creative. And so if you ask me to eat some funky diet that involves tofu and all that sort of stuff, that ain't going to happen. As you think about whether you can do this, well, if you can eat chicken, steak, and pork, and green beans, and broccoli, you can do this diet. And you will have to force yourself to forego all those pastas and breads and things that are in your pantry, and that's not easy. If you're a little faint-hearted, maybe you clear out go out and get yourself a big carton plastic container in the garage and put all your pastas and everything that's like that in that. Put it out in the garage for a week or two while you're doing this. But this is a diet that you don't have to change. Assuming you're not a vegan or something like that, a vegetarian, you don't have to change dramatically what you're doing. You can still eat I won't say most. You can still eat enough of the things that you like to eat during those 2 weeks to get you through that first ingestion phase to kind of reboot your metabolism. If you throw in a little bit of exercise along the way, low intensity exercise. I mean, we're not talking hard stuff. You'll start to see the immediate reward is the thing that you can count is weight, pounds. How many pounds have you lost? And you'll see that pretty quickly. The other things, I think, depending on your personality, maybe you're already cheerful all the time. But for me, I found that I was more alert. I slept better, that sort of stuff. And that gave me an overall sense of improved morale. And that was sort of a wrapper category that talks about, when you put all these things together that are better, when your belly doesn't give you grief, when you can sleep a little better at night, when you feel alert in the middle of the day, you start to, and you're losing weight, you start to feel like you have a little bit of control over your destiny, and that really improves the situation. So, hope this helps, and maybe as you look at it, you can see that we're now on week 6 here, right? So I've never done a diet before, ever, and because I'm not willing to do all the crap that goes with it, and I'm on week 6. So that gives you an idea how easy the diet is. If I don't count calories, I don't, I just sort of, generally speaking, if I want to try and gain ground today for tomorrow's weigh-in, I might think about, okay, I don't really need that extra whatever, that extra piece of steak or whatever it is, or I don't need that carb, those crackers after dinner, that sort of thing. But in the last few weeks, I've had pastries, I had Reese's Cups, I've had popcorn, I've had cheese and crackers, I've had peanut butter and crackers. I've had lasagna, I've had spaghetti multiple times. what else? We had some fried potatoes with steak the other day, corn on the cob, right? All the things that I like, I'm eating. Not quite as much, not quite as often, and but I'm still eating them. Now, I didn't do that in the first 2 weeks, so that's part of Phil's philosophy of trying to get your body to reset itself away from carbs and into using fat. So I would say be very disciplined in that first 2 weeks, and you can start to reintroduce some of this stuff and enjoy yourself. I had some peach cobbler a week or two ago. I had a Chick-fil-A chocolate chip cookie. The point is, you can reintroduce these things in moderation, and with just a little bit of physical exercise. The combination of these two will set you on the path toward weight loss that you can see. And I highly recommend that you set up yourself a spreadsheet like this to, it reinforces me. I actually now think a little bit every day when I start to think about what I'm going to eat. I think about how I want that chart to look next Sunday, so that I can, convince you guys that this is worth doing, right? But it doesn't dominate my destiny. I don't think about it every minute of the day all the time because I'm hungry all the time, because I'm not hungry all the time. But when I'm contemplating going in and, eating, cheating, whatever, eating something that's not on the plan, if you will, or eating seconds, maybe I used to eat seconds right away. I would eat, because I grew up in a house with 6 kids. Right? If you didn't eat fast, you didn't eat at all. You never got seconds, right? So I eat, and then I go get seconds before my body's had a chance to say, oh, I've got dinner already. And so now one of the things that I've done at dinner time is I eat what she puts in front of me. And then instead of immediately going and getting seconds, I wait. And sure enough, a lot of times that was good enough. I don't need any more, later. So if nothing else, it leaves a little room in my calorie count for maybe some popcorn. If you do the calorie count on popcorn, it's not really all that many calories. So you can shuffle around, and having that, having your tracker to kind of show you that you are making progress, or no, you flattened out for a couple of days here. What's going on? Maybe it'll reintroduce you, reinvigorate you for a couple of days to get back on the right path, so to speak. And then over time, you can see that it's going down. So I hope this helps, and I will continue to do it just because, for whatever reason. And have a nice week.